Welcome, and in today's video we actually got a special guest.
And together we're going to be showing you some tips and tricks on how to paint a freshly plastered room
From start
to finish.
My name's Kev, I'm Paint Warrior. Today's task, miscoating plaster, but before we do that, we're going to give the walls a quick belt down with a 120 grit, just to try and get them smoothed out, because usually they over trowel them and you end up with these tiny little ripples here and there, so we want to level that out before we put the paint on. So now I'll just fit it over there and make sure that's all flush. And then anything that's proud, like that one, I'll just whip over it again. Just to level it all out. What a lot of people do is they will miscoat the plaster and then they'll sand it down. Like, feel that now, that's absolutely, like,
smooth as a baby's bottom, will one say.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? So that way you don't have to sand the paint down to get to the plaster, to find the imperfection. Just whip over the entire walls.
I see these Merkur sanders, everyone's got one. Do you like, is that the best?
These are good, to be fair, yeah. See them, see the scrapes.
So basically if we painted that, we'd have to sand all the way through the paint.
We have to sand the paint down and just to get to that bit again. So,
so
and then what?
Just give it
It's gone, isn't it?
That's nuts! Because I was basically going to paint this all the same colour.
Yeah.
But what Kev's come up with is a fantastic idea, is to paint this inside section black.
Basically, yeah, it just creates, you don't have nothing around it.
Yeah.
It's just like open, if that makes sense.
It'll look nice with the lights lit up. Like.
Yeah, so you know as well, people do like the cutouts for the sound bars that are sunken in. We paint in there black as well.
Oh, so
it just looks like, yeah, exactly.
Top bit of advice from Kevster.
That's what it's all about.
Right, Kevster's asked me to remove them. Why should we remove them?
So when we paint,
you get a nice finish around the spot, like.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
if people had to cut around with a brush, they're going to get all the brush.
You end up with a thick lip, don't you? Or people pop them down and paint, pop them back up, and then the paint sticks to the underside. Can't pop them down, so just put them down. We'll put a couple of poo bags over them, tie it off, roll it out.
Come on, and that's how you get a perfect finish on your
Yeah,
fingers.
exactly.
Just be careful with the clips.
Yeah.
How many times have you been done with your fingers?
I've actually got these things called spot drops where you just lower it down and then that holds
Put the
them
clips
off.
on?
Yeah. So it keeps the clips inside, but it keeps them off the ceiling. So basically, that one goes there, and then one goes this side.
That's nice. What, so you recommend these little sort of things?
Yeah, I use them all the time.
It don't get all in the way of the paint line or anything like that?
No, and you just leave it like that.
Oh, cool.
And then just quickly whip round it, let it dry, and then once you're finished, you ain't gonna risk damaging the plaster, and you just like pop them out and you're done.
Jeez, Kev.
It's good, isn't it?
Kev, what are you up to? What is going on? Tell me, what are you doing right now?
Cleaning the reveals.
They're round the
Cleaning.
windows, why are you scraping them?
Cleaning all the plaster off, haven't I? Got to mask them up.
Alright, so.
Don't want to wipe it down after we paint it, do we? So.
Well, you can try, it might be a mess. So when you get new plaster done, you just get these they're a little bit rough edges. They're not bad, to be honest, they're quite clean.
Yeah, they're
but
all
all
good.
he's doing is he's just tidying it up, so when he comes into paint, you're going to have a crispy line. So what my main man Kev is doing now is taping up around the windows. So he's cleaned all of the plastic. So when I say plastic, doors, windows, etc., UPVC. And now he's taping up around the edge. Do you have to tape, or do you advise they tape? And what tape do you reckon they should be using?
I think you should definitely tape it up. And this is a precision line. And the reason for taping it up is because when you're rolling, you know, you're going to get all this overspray. It's a nightmare to get off here. You start scratching it up. Just keeping it clean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look after it.
There you go, the main man says it, you better do it. But another thing, when I was plastering this to reveal, I'm not the best, alright, and I don't want to hear no complaints about it. But when he tapes up, he's not following any little deviations in the wall. He's taping himself a perfectly straight line. That way, when he paints, to the eye, it's going to look lovely. So Kev has protected the window. We haven't done the door because obviously we need to come in and out, but he will protect that at some point. But this is what we're looking for. This way you can go absolutely nuts in here and there ain't going to be nothing on that window when you're finished. So what is next?
I think we'll just whip off the sockets.
Here's one he had earlier. So what he wants to do next, I've been given the task, is to loosen the face plates, so the sockets. We're not going to be taking them off. We're just going to be backing the screws out a little bit and then just loosening them off, because obviously we don't want you messing about with electrics. Unless you're an electrician, then you do you. About that, Kev? Is that all right?
Mate. Yeah, as long as you get a brush behind it.
That's all we need. That's enough to get a brush behind and leave a lovely finish. You ain't going to have any cutting in marks or brush marks, etc.
So I'm just going to go around the entire perimeter.
Yep.
Just like so. All the way round. Oh.
You've done that once before, haven't you, Kev?
Yeah, mate. And fold it in like a present. And just whip off a little bit for that centre. When I'm rolling, any overspray that hits that plastic, it's a nightmare to get off. You don't want to be scrubbing your plastic because it'll scratch it. So for the sake of a couple of quid and a couple of seconds, mask them up.
Yes, Kev!
So he's using little doggy poo bags, and you put them over any downlights, and that's going to protect the light, but you must use scented ones.
Yeah, because
otherwise it won't work.
no, it won't work.
Just make sure
the lights are not too hot.
Yeah.
Like these are LEDs, so they're cool.
Yeah.
So just check to make sure that your lights don't get too hot, like the old school LEDs.
Yeah, if you've got halogen,
You can only do it on cool light, not warm light.
Yeah. if you've got halogen bulbs, which are the ones that are like little mini radiators, then you may want to switch them off and cover them, or don't cover them. You're going to have to do it a different way, because obviously we don't really set fire to your gaff now. That's serious. What are we actually?
Right, what we're going to seal the plaster now. So we're going to use some contract mat, 40% water. We're going to roll it out and we'll strike all the corners in.
When he says strike all the corners, because he's using big people words, he's going to get this. This looks like what you clean a toilet out with, but it's a brush, and he's basically going to into the corners, just cover this all in a watered down
contract mat,
white paint. And what that does is it seals the plaster, because if you try and paint straight onto this, it will not adhere properly and it'll be peeling off. So this is a very important step.
Okay, so we're about to apply the mist coat. All I've done so far is just dampen the sleeve down a little bit. It's a microfiber sleeve. They're the ones I recommend.
Kevstar, what we're doing on the ceiling, we're just painting it all in one direction?
Yeah, I'm just going to start. I'll probably break it up into 3, come back this way, and then top coat would go in line with the way the light comes in.
Right, a little tip that Kevin's just told me while the camera's off, because he's not paying attention, unbelievable, is when he's painting the ceiling, he's never painting forward, so he's moving back that way. You ain't getting any of the paint splashing into your face, especially this first coat, because it's watered down. Even though he's got a microfiber sleeve, it's going to let go a little bit because of how watered down it is. So, little tip for you. So, we are now onto the walls. The ceiling's had its first coat, the watered down paint. As you can see, he's painting right up to this edge. He's not being careful not to go up so high, because it doesn't really matter. It's just one colour going all over everything. The reason he's doing this will become very clear in a little moment.
That's just been rolled and that's dry.
Yeah. Oh, so it's the same paint.
It's going to go the same as that.
Oh, okay, so that's basically the same colour.
It is. There's no basically, it is.
It's the same.
It is exactly the same paint. That one's got 5 minutes of dry time, that one hasn't.
That's mad how white it goes, isn't it?
I know, it's like real life. What are we doing now? So we was talking about that tight gap we got over there. Look, let me put my finger in here. Up there.
Yeah.
So what's that you got there?
So we call this a striker. So when we're mist coating, we want to roll it as tight as possible, and then we just dip this in the paint and just strike the corners out. And what that does is just saves us a bit of time, because otherwise you've got to cut that wall in and roll this in, and then we've got to cut that in. We get the small rad rollers on these sections. Anything wider than a brush, but not wide enough for the big roller, we'll put a rad roller on it so we can get a nice even spread.
And what's a rad roller, mate?
A rad roller is the small rollers.
So basically, it's a shrunk down version.
That is the same roller and same pile as that. So no matter when we do the smaller areas, it'll blend in with the bigger areas.
That is the room completely cut in, or as Kev says, he striped the corners. So now what he's doing is he's filling any imperfections that he can see in the walls. Typical place, corners. So he's just making sure the corners are nice and square. What filler is that, Kev?
This is just easy fill.
So yeah, there he is. We've got some Easy Fill 60. So he's going to go around, fill anything he can see, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Billy, what you doing?
Well, there's one of the two things that are happening here. Kev's on wind up,
I promise you.
and he's making me
Look at that.
He's making me feel.
Oh, okay.
See how rough that is? See, it's all jagged. Even if you sand that, there's holes. Do you know what I mean? So put a bit on your finger. And once that's dry and sanded down, give it a nice edge to paint to.
So what he's doing here is he's got a, what is that thing called, Kev?
Pole sander.
So that is a pole sander. What grit is this on here?
180 on there.
So he's got 180 grit and he's going all over the flat areas. And because I know everything, and I definitely didn't ask Kev what this is a medium to coarse sanding sponge, so it's soft. And he's used that in the corners. Remember when we filled all these corners in with our fingers, which was definitely strange to me, but we did it. And now that's give him a nice crisp corner for when we start to paint. Oh, wear a mask because it gets super dusty.
And what are you up to now, Kev?
Just dusting off these corners, mate.
Well, so all the sanding that you've done, you just go over it with a brush.
Yeah, I just want to get like the surface dust off because I'm going to spot in all this filler with a bit of watered down emulsion. Same for this coat, basically.
So, after an extreme weather warning, our gazebo has decided it wants to go and live in the next door neighbour's garden, so we had to retrieve that, and now we can get back to our painting. What we're doing now is this, so, because this is the mist coat underneath, so now Kev is doing something else, but he's like a whippet, you have to catch him.
Yeah, so basically, this is number one, first of two top coats. What we've done, we mist coat first, then we sand a little back, get rid of all the little snotty bits, like for anyone who don't know, any bits that come off the roller, any thick bits of paint, sand it all back again, sand the corners, whip round with one top coat, do the same again, and then a final top coat.
And Kev was saying to us off camera, so this is the first time he's used this, and if you look at the mist coat, like it's unreal, it's like super white. So
I've decided to try and give it a second and see sort of how white it goes with every coat, just to try and review it the best I can.
But don't look at this, this is what he was telling us.
Look, if you see, when I go like over the plaster, it goes sort of like see-through. And then like the last 5 minutes of drying time, the pigments will come through and then it'll just go pure white again.
Yeah, so don't panic when you see that.
So once it dries, come back and have another look.
And see what you're looking like. So we're going to let him, I mean, we're all going to work as a bloody good team together and get this on. And we'll see you in a minute.
What's it time for, Kevstar?
What's that?
What's it time for?
I'm going to gun in these edges.
Using what caulk?
The one and only.
No, I want you to sell it to us.
The one and only Paint Warrior.
Hi, you can buy Paint Warrior's caulk. This is Paint Warrior's actual caulk himself.
Yeah.
Well, what we do is, Kev, we'll put a link in the description. So if anyone wants to buy it, we'll put his website down below.
We'll do any of the products we use in this anyways, because Kev's used some stuff we've never seen before, so we'll just link it all below.
So Kev's done a bit of caulking. Kev's any tips on caulking?
I tend to use like a wet wipe.
Yeah.
So I just like lay it off with my finger and then go over the white and keep your fingers clean as well, otherwise when you go over it, it'll roll off into the caulk and then you've got edges. Nice,
That's going to give you perfect corners to cut in, stuff that we've never learned before.
To be fair, we shouldn't be caulking on the tops, I'm just being honest. But, because it's a little bit wavy and we are putting the colour on, we want to just give it a little bit of curve so we've got something to work with, just to better our chances. It's not that you can't do it, ideally you shouldn't.
But in the real world?
In the real world, we've got these little obstacles we've got to get over and this is one of them. But before I filled it and it's still a little bit So now we're just going to round that
And that'll give us a nice finish when we put the colours in.
Yeah.
Nice. So where would we actually use caulk then, if you don't use it for the top?
Woodwork, so skirting boards, door frames. To be fair, any sort of like
Internals mainly, innit?
joints. You can use them around your window reveals if you don't want a mastic bead, because some mastic beads do look ugly.
Yeah.
You get to do it. In here, it'll look fine because you get.
There's going to be a lot of movement, so we don't want it to crack. So we're probably going to put mastic there for some more flex.
So we won't caulk that if it's going to be mastic, because it's
Yeah.
not going to take. So we just paint it tight, and then the mastic man can create his own straight edge. You know.
Mr. Paint Warrior has now put on a second layer on the cutting in, so he hasn't rolled this yet. So we're up to 2 coats, the watered down one, and then 1 top coat, and he's now rolling on the second top coat. So that'll probably be it for this ceiling, but sometimes you said you might have to go on with a 3rd top coat, depending on the paint.
It's known, it has been known, but I think we've got it covered here.
Bush, 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 dush, 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 and then just lightly to take the excess off, yeah?
Give it another little tap.
And then another one.
That's it. Yeah, so what I tend to do is offload it alongside the line. So I'll come down.
Oh my word. These are his brushes, by the way, that's why it holds so much.
Into the corner. I'll just drag it through. You see these areas here where it stayed light? These are imperfections that you can't see with the mist coat. So it's really important that you coat it up before you do any fine filling. So that will actually highlight the areas.
Oh, so this is actually highlight, so that's what them little things
so so that's why we should do this anyway. So we're not actually cutting these corners in. Oh, that was close. We're not actually cutting these corners in, it's just letting me have a little practice go. But now we've shown something else. So when we do come to do our first cutting in, any little white spots that we've got coming through, we're going to have to fill them because they're imperfections.
Not fill, fine fill, Kev.
Fine fill, sorry.
Yeah, just go, that's it. That's not bad, is it?
This brush is like, holds a lot of paint. Yeah, it's different. Fed up with rubbish decorating? Hit up Paint Warrior's new beaver tail brushes for that expert finish.
Kev, how was that?
Yeah, you're right.
What he's actually done is started to first coat the walls. He's done his 2 top coats. Remember, if you need to do 3, do 3. And then he started to roll all the sections. He can't get the big roller out with his little baby rad roller, which is just a miniature roller. And the reason you use that is to get rid of all the brush marks, as many as you can.
Get it as close as you can to the corner, yeah.
So he'll cut round something like this, for instance, with his brush. And then he'll roll as close as he can get. That way you don't get all the little brush marks.
So yeah, what I'm doing now is just offloading the paint underneath the area that I want to cut up to. And then I'll turn it around. And then I'll creep up to the line. And I'll just drag it through. If you get a miss like that, you can carry on. But also, don't forget, your first cut is not going to be the straightest. It's the second time round. You start filling in them little wavy bits.
Right, so don't get caught up too much trying to get it super perfect.
Exactly, yeah, don't waste your time. Like, I'm literally whipping around this room like as quick as I can.
And speed.
If you do it slow, you start to wobble.
Yeah, so
like, offload, turn. Just put it back at a decent speed. And then join onto the previous one.
And then brush it in.
And then take that off, yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
But when you use cheap brushes that whole time.
Yeah, I know he's here, but actually for real, cheap brushes, I've used them my whole life. And then he let me have a little go of these one. He was a bit rude, he wanted it straight back or whatever. But day and night, it holds more paint, it doesn't take, you know when you're cutting sometimes, you've probably done it at home if you don't decorate, and it like leaves lines or in the paint where the bristles are so thick and yeah.
Any tips on rolling, Kev?
Use a decent roller.
A microfiber one.
Microfiber, yeah.
What does Kev recommend?
I prefer the long pile arrow-worthy blue vein microfiber. I say people get a little bit worried using long pile because they think it'll leave roller stipple, but it doesn't. Not with the microfibers. Basically, it just applies more paint, but it leaves the same finish.
Oh, nice.
And another thing I've noticed is he always has a little baby rolling pole, and I'm assuming that saves you back.
Yeah, using a pole is very important, especially if you're doing like big walls like that. Walls like this, a bit of a pain actually, but yeah, if you're rolling top to bottom, you need a pole. It'll make your life so much easier. So that's still off that same load.
Oh, that holds for so long.
Yeah, the paint just.
But it is also a very good paint.
Yeah.
Like what? Up there?
What?
That paint?
Yeah, that's one of the best out there. Or if not, the best.
Of course, Kev didn't call it. As Kev called it. But I'm still impressed with the fortress matte paint on the ceiling. The what?
Yeah, the tray.
Oh yeah, for price. That's
What you get
a new
for the-
plaster, like that's what you want.
Yeah.
It's going to cover quick. It's cheap. It dries quick. You can get a few coats on.
We have now got one coat on the walls. And what are we up to, Kev?
We are up to, well, we've done our first coat.
Yeah.
Done our fine filling.
Fine filling. What's fine filling,
Fine
Kev?
filling.
For the people at home.
Right, so basically what we want to do is once you plaster the wall, you miscoat it,
Yep.
give it a sand down, put your first coat on. This will highlight any imperfections. So, if you've got any dents
or scratches, now's
Exactly.
the best time.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
put a bit of filler in.
As soon as you put a bit of colour on, it just helps your sort of eye navigate to it, and that's what we've done. So we've done all the fine filling,
Let it dry.
let it dry, give it a pat down, really light pad, you don't want to scratch the filler.
What are we using?
This is 180,
180, yeah?
180, yeah. And then we'll just spot all of that in with the paint and
And what do we need to do? Do we need to prime that or can we go
yeah, that's what
straight?
we're going to do. We're going to prime it by spotting it in with the same wall colour.
What's spotting it in?
Just touching it up.
Touching it up. Touch it. I didn't even know what that meant.
Spot it in.
Our next step was to run around all the skirting boards and get some caulk in the gap. Kev, why do we actually use caulk? And what is it?
Well, it's going to lose the join between the skirting board and the wall.
So basically it'll give you a much better finish when you paint it.
Well, not yeah. Well, you just it connects the
So when
two
you-
substrates together, doesn't it?
So if you painted it without it, you'd have like a, it looked like
You'd
a crack
have,
all
yeah,
around.
you'd have a big gap, wouldn't you?
So we've let that set fully cure for an hour, and now it's time to get some primer on the skirting boards. Kev, start.
Yo,
What primer are we putting on the skirting?
Caparol half primer.
Do you recommend that?
In white? Yeah, really do rate this stuff actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, great opacity, great adhesion. Really all round good primer, to be fair.
And before we've done that, we've actually run around, masking tape the area so we don't get no stuff on the flooring below. Right, so now, Kev, what are we up to?
We are priming. We're going to just go in on the top section first, hit the wall because we're going to tape this up, and I'm just going to brush in that little bit of detail there, and then I'm going to roll it out with a short pile microfiber. So then that'll be like the closest finish you get to a nice spray.
There's also another reason why we've masked the floor up. What is it, Kev?
So when it comes to rolling, and we're using the microfiber short pile arrow-worthy, we can just hit the top of the masking tape like that, so it's the same finish.
So
All the way
Kev,
around.
would you say that you don't have to be perfect at cutting in because you can just roll straight to the ground and it's going to give
Oh
you
yeah,
a perfect
100%.
finish?
That's it, yeah, so that's what we're going to do.
So these actually tips and tricks make you better at home without actually being better. Right, so we've let the primer dry and now it's time to hit it with an actual top coat. Kev, what are we using?
We are going to be going in with the Benjamin Moore Scuff X,
In satin?
satin finish, white.
Right, Kev, so let's show them how to actually paint the skirtings. So Kev, once again, we're going to use repeat the same sort of process as you did on the primer.
Yeah, exactly the same. So what we're going to do, load our brush up. Because we've got the detail here, we're going to brush inside there. So we're just going to hit the top. Then we're going to get in that little groove. And then we just roll the face out. Straight to the masking tape on the floor. to leave like the slightest little stipple, but as it dries it'll suck back and it'll go nice and smooth. That's one of 2 top coats.
One of 2, we're putting 2 on, yeah?
2. Always 2 top coats.
And do you recommend the way we paint it where we, like, the satin goes up the skirting and then paint the colour back on, and that will give you the best line finish, would you say?
If you have an area where maybe your walls are slightly out,
Yeah.
so you'll have your top lip of the skirting board to go thick and thin in places, this is an easy way.
This is the best method, would you say, for that?
Yeah, and then you can tape it up,
Yeah.
paint to the tape, and then you'll have a nice straight finish.
So Kev is now taping up the top of the skirtings which have been top coated, so they are finished. So what he's doing is masking the top with a delicate surface masking tape, a lot of words there. And basically what that means is it's perfect for freshly coated surfaces, so it's not going to be pulling all the paint back off. What brand? Any brand you like, as long as it's for a delicate surface. So he's going to get it done. He can cut this in by hand, but the reason he doesn't is because he's trying to show you another option if you're not very good at cutting in. Right, that's Kev all taped up. Now, just remember, this line that you've made with your masking tape is going to reflect directly in your paint. So just take your time with that and make it nice and perfect. Now, before you go painting the top coat of the walls on, there's one more step which Kev is doing right now, and that is to put the colour of your skirting back into this gap where the tape is, and what that does is seal the tape down, and it's going to give you that crispy line and prevent any bleeding. So it isn't going mad, it's just literally a nice little layer in it.
Just to seal that edge.
While that's drying, he's now going to spot in any of the fine filling that he's done. So any little bits of fine filling, he's just going to use some watered down top coat and just go over those areas, and that's going to prevent any patches when we come to do the final coat. So Kev has, what do you call this?
Spotted in the filler.
He spotted in the filler. Yeah, I spotted that filler from miles away. Anyway, so he's done whatever he just said there. So now what he's going to do is second coat with a cutting in brush along the tops. He's not going to go down to the skirtings yet because they're not quite dry, but when they're dry, he's also going to cut those back in. So the white that we've used, which is the skirting colour that we've sealed the tape in, is now dry. So Kev is going to start putting on a bit of the top coat with a brush just over that little section there, ready for the final coat on the walls. So it is finally time for the top coat. So this is all dry now. So what he's doing, he's got his roller out, he's filled up his scuttle with the top colour, which is, what colour even is this, Kev? Ooh. No one cares. Anyways, so we're putting that on the wall. So now what he's going to do, he's going to go around top coat with his roller and his little tiny pole, which we all love. So good. I've been told off by Kev, and we are going to tell you the colour of the paint. It's called Stone Half and it's spelt strangely.
So that's it, the paint's touch dry now, and we're actually going to do the exciting bit of peeling the tape off, where you get the nice crisp lines. Kev, we excited for this bit? Fingers crossed. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Now we are very impressed with how that's come out. I can't wait to crack on and peel all the rest off. I hope this video has been a massive help to you guys. Just remember to subscribe to Paint Warriors channel as well as ours.
Mainly our one.
Mainly ours.
And we'll see you later.
See you later.